Halo fans, it's your boy Above Average Coding. It's no secret I'm not the most cracked player on this game, but guys, I currently shoot around, I'd say 60% on average in my ranked games, and when I started back on Halo Infinite 2 or 3 years ago, I was a Gold 5 player, probably shooting around 30 to 45% pretty much every single game. So today I'm going to take you guys through that journey that I went through to improve my aim, to hopefully give you guys the fast pass and the secrets to improving your aim faster so that you can hopefully climb up in the ranked arena. So without further ado, guys, let's get into the first tip. And of course, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Now, this first tip, guys, is probably the most important, and if you're really struggling with aim in Halo, at some point you're going to have to come to the realization that your settings, you might just not be all that comfortable with them, and this was really the first step I made in my journey into improving my aim. And I don't know if kids just come from Call of Duty and just assume that this is just like every other FPS, or people are used to watching pros like Bound that are absolutely cracked, playing fast with the higher sensitivity. But the first step to learning, having good aim, good tracking, and even being able to try and play cracked is getting comfortable with your aim and your settings, guys. And the way that I did this is by dropping down my sensitivity. I played on low settings. I might have been on 3-2-2 when I first started, so 3 aim excel, even 2 look excel it might be, and then 2-2 or 2-3 on the horizontal and vertical sensitivities. Now you guys can see I'm higher than that, but I used to be very low, and the reason for that is, guys, you're really not learning anything diving in and going on to high sensitivity. Yes, it's an arena shooter, it's an FPS, everybody wants to hop on their controller and just play super cracked, you know, the fast turns, flying around the map. You're just not going to succeed in Halo unless you work yourself up to that point. So you're going to want to start on a lower sensitivity. If you're having trouble over-aiming, over-correcting, or just keeping your reticle over the enemy long enough to win the gunfight, trust me, guys, go to a lower sensitivity. I'm not saying go to 1-1-1. But if that's what you have to do to learn the, sticky aim and keeping your reticle smooth and things like that, watching Formal's gameplay is a perfect example of this. You have to go low and then work yourself back up. You may not be able to get to that 7, 8, 9 on the sensitivity. You may have to stop somewhere like 4 or 5. But guys, if it's going to make your aim better, it is just what you have to do, because this is so much more important than putting on a flashy show of flying around the map and gunning everybody down. And along with this, guys, I will briefly talk about dead zones. I'll link a video in the description going a lot more in depth into dead zones, but trust me, on the center dead zone for your look thumbstick, this can play a very big role in your aim, especially if you are over aiming, because we all want our right stick to be very reactive, but sometimes those fine little aim movements, like the ones where you're snapping up to the head, a smaller dead zone can make these little movements much, much more controlled. But again, guys, I'll link another video on that. Let's get into step 2, which really starts to bring it together with step 1, and that is to learn how to hold your aim over the enemy. Now, there is a lot of different things that go into this, guys, but this is what we call tracking, and this is consistently keeping your reticle over the enemy, whether they're strafing, sprinting, jumping, no matter what, you want your reticle over the enemy 100% of the time. And yes, aim assist helps do this a little bit, but I promise you, if you are moving around the map and doing 18 things at once in your gameplay, this is going to require a lot of work and a lot of discipline and being very comfortable on your controller. Now, I know what you're thinking. Cody, I understand this, but how am I going to learn it? Now, the first thing I'm going to give you guys, and they actually just added this, you can turn off aim magnetism. This is your aim assist. So you're going to click this off, and you're instantly going to see how hard it is to aim without aim assist on the enemy. And I just have a bot here, and he's kind of trapped in a corner, but you're gonna just want to go through the reps here and just shoot bots and do your best to perfect the enemy with no aim assist, guys. And you can see right there how hard it is even for a player like me. And the better, and you're not going to be perfecting everybody. You're not going to be shooting 80% with no aim assist on, guys. I promise you that. But if you can gun down enemies and get a good practice session in without aim assist, when you go into a game with aim assist, guys, you are going to just be in absolute awe at how easy it feels. It's almost like a batter in baseball when they take their practice swings with a weight on the bat, because it's harder to swing the bat fast. And then when they take the weight off, they go up to the bat. It's like they're not even holding anything because the bat is so much lighter. It's kind of the same idea, guys. You want to practice under harder conditions so that when you go into the real thing ain't nothing. It's easy, guys. Now, the other huge thing I want to talk about before I go on to the next step is left stick aim. Now, the biggest thing I see in all of the VOD reviews, people I've played with, is if they are struggling with aim, chances are they are using too much right stick. Inevitably, the right stick is going to be so much easier to pull your aim off the enemy, guys. So you want to use a little bit more left stick, because once you get the reticle over the enemy, use the right stick for these big turn movements. Once you get it close, you want to use the left stick to really dial this in, to line up the shot. And then right when you strafe that reticle over the enemy, you just hit the shot. And guys, it is just inevitably easier to hold aim with the left stick. Yes, you're still going to be using a little bit of right stick for those little tiny aim corrections, like getting up to the head and stuff like that. But if you're only going left and right, it is a very smooth and methodical movement, as opposed to moving into the up, down, left, right. Because if I'm trying to do this with aim, guys, it's a whole lot more movement than if I'm just doing this. So you want to be doing a lot of left stick aiming, especially in these strafey little 1v1 gunfights you're going to have with enemies. And guys, the final thing before we move on is practice gunfights with only your right stick. I used to go into Octagon all the time and just stand still, no left hand on the controller, and literally just practice my aim like this. And if you can keep the reticle over the enemy, guys, you are going to become so steady on that right stick. And if you can pair those two things together, I'll use this little BR as an example here. Just pick a spot on the wall. If you can master this type of movement where you're just gently, ever so carefully keeping the reticle over something, your aim's going to improve tenfold, guys, because that is the biggest thing. The better you can track an enemy, the better you can maintain the reticle over the enemy throughout an entire gunfight or whatever is going on. You're going to see your accuracy improve tenfold, and you're going to win a lot more gunfights because you're no longer doing this massive over-aim, putting the shots into the floor, cookie-cutting around the enemy, or windmilling, or whatever you want to call it. Next up, guys, once you master those two things, you're going to want to time your shots, and this is bigger than ever with the Bandit Evo. It helps out a lot with the sniper rifle, or really any single-shot gun in this game, and by that I mean, guys, do not pull the trigger until the reticle is over the enemy. Yes, do not just... There's a time and a place to just be spamming your gun all willy-nilly, guys, but if you are wasting time by missing left and then shooting over and missing right, you can perfectly, and we've all had this gunfight happen to us, I don't care what skill level you are, where you're perfectly strafing and just missing every bullet because you just keep pulling the trigger nonstop. So guys, wait until the reticle's over the enemy and then pull that trigger, because I promise you, it'll go a much longer way to take that extra fraction of a second to line up your shot and pull it, as opposed to just constantly slamming on that trigger and taking miss after miss after miss. And this especially plays a monster role when the player is jumping, because if the enemy chooses to jump, you don't want to just be missing down here. You want to get them one shot, then they jump up, take the time, line it up, and then pull the trigger. Trust me, guys, it goes a really, really long way. And it creates more of a method to your aim. Because again, if we just do the opposite of steps 1, 2, and 3, right? Sensitivity's too high, we're not using left stick aim, and we're just spamming shots, your aim, I promise you guys, probably looks something like this, where you slide out on an enemy, and you're kind of just shooting and praying you hit them, which, let's be real, some gunfights kind of end up that way, but we want to minimize that as much as possible, and I promise the more you time your shots, paired with steps 1 and 2, the more you'll be able to remedy this kind of occurrence in your gameplay. And I'll very much say those first 3 steps are the bare bones basics, guys. I see a lot of those mistakes happening in lower ranks. I'm talking silver, gold, maybe even low platinum. And now we get to the things that are really going to not necessarily improve your aim, but help you just win a lot more gunfights overall. And this next tip is going to come down to first bullet, guys, and that is to react to the enemy faster. And guys, I'm actually going to load us into an octagon here with no sound so I can kind of talk while I show you this tip. But one other thing I also want to add to the beginner tips in 1, 2, and 3 there is to minimize your movement, right? Hyper focus on those tips I gave you working on your aim so that you can lock in your aim and not kind of do too much with your strafe and things like that to kind of throw you off. Now, guys, we're here in Octagon because, again, you want to react to the enemy as quickly as possible. So when you get this first kill, hopefully they spawn in front of you, and you need to snap there as quickly and accurately as possible, because the faster you're able to get this first bullet here, the much faster you're going to be able to sink damage before they're even able to react to you. And it's going to lead to a lot of gunfight wins like that, where you are able to get that first bullet and drop them before they can even get 2, 3, or even 4 bullets into you guys. And this not only helps you win more gunfights, but it helps you take less damage, because again, the faster you kill the enemy, guys, the less damage they're going to be able to sink into you. And there's no big secret to this one, guys. You're just going to have to get really comfortable with your aim acceleration, your sensitivity, and everything of the sort, and kind of just know when to stop over the enemy so that you can not only get the reticle to the enemy faster, but obviously hit that first bullet just like that, so that hopefully you can sink the damage first and get that win in the gunfight. And now that you guys pretty much mastered all of the basics of aiming and snapping your target, now it's time to get a little bit mixy with it. And again, not necessarily an aim tip here, but this will help you win a lot more gunfights with your newly acquired aim, and that is, it's time to mix in some movement. And that's why I kind of want to mention kind of not thinking too much about the movement, because I found when I was working on my aim, guys, I was thinking too much about my strafe. I was thinking so much about moving, getting mixy, doing the crouches, where I would just kind of over fixate on making the enemy miss, and it would throw my aim off. So I found a lot of success in mastering the aim, the tracking, and all of that first, and then I went into the movement. And what I'm talking about this, guys, is just get your own little style here, you know. Get a strafe going, throw in some crouches, only jump when you're one shot or something of that nature, and just get creative with it. Do something that's going to make them miss, but make sure you're holding your aim in the process. And that's why I said to master doing this nice gentle hold of the reticle over the enemy mixed with your left stick aim, because guys, it is going to be so automatic for you if you master those steps first, where it won't really matter too much what you're doing in your gunfights. It will just become automatic, where you can move, strafe, hold your aim, and just bring it all together into one secure 1v1 gunfight package, if you will, guys. The only tips I'll give here is strafe wider. Don't do this little tiny strafe. Look at how little my reticle's moving. You're going to be an easy target. You know, don't go too crazy with the crouches. I don't want to see you going up and down like this, because I see kids do this sometimes. I have to believe that if you're crouching that much, guys, you're not focusing enough on your right stick aiming. So just be gentle with it, you know, throw in a couple crouches, get mixy, you know, strafe in one direction, then bring it back this way, go back in the original direction. This one's pretty self-explanatory, guys. Just get a little mixy with it, put in some movement. Just don't turn into that player in multiplayer that's just standing here, you know, on the corner, just standing still, shooting the enemy. Number 6 here, guys, is probably the most straightforward one, so I'm not even going to explain it too much. Practice all of these steps with every weapon that you plan on using. And if you don't have time to do that, at least work on the weapons that you struggle with the most. If you're too scared to pick up the S7, work on your S7. If you avoid the shock rifle because you find you struggle with it, and my goodness, it's a Hydra on the wall because I didn't pick the ranked map, but work on it. Practice your weaknesses. That is the only way to improve your gameplay, guys. Repeat all of these steps with every single gun that you think you're struggling with. Next up, guys, is a really big one that I probably took a little too long to focus, and I definitely hyper fixated on it once the Bandit came into ranked, and that is to get comfortable with long-range gunfights. even in my lobbies, I don't see enough players putting damage across the map, and I feel like this is because they're just not very good at aiming at long distances unless they have an S7 or a Shock or something of that nature, guys. So get comfortable aiming, get comfortable getting scope knocked, and I actually have a really unique way of aiming in long-range gunfights, and I get made fun of all the time, but I have pretty good results with this, and I actually just keep pressing my ADS button in. I actually use left trigger to ADS, and I just practice like this a lot and get comfortable holding my aim doing this while strafing so that I don't even really notice getting scope knocked. And people will be like, why are you coming out of your scope even though you're not getting hit with any damage? And it's just kind of, that's just how I started practicing it, and I started having some success with it in the ranked arena. Is it the best way to do it? No, but the point of this tip is to get comfortable putting in damage long range. Get comfortable in your scope and get comfortable getting scope knocked. Because if you never practice your long range gunfights, guys, and you get scope knocked, you're going to be aiming like this. And I already know it's happened to you if you've ever tried to take a long range gunfight. So get comfortable going really, really heavy on the left stick for these long range gunfights. And like I said, get comfortable doing something like that. It's that simple, guys. You don't have to win and get perfects every time across the map, but on a map like Recharge, it is absolutely crucial for you to be laying down damage. So if you have an enemy up here chowing you from gold and you just go, oh, you know, I can't chow that, I'm just going to go run somewhere else, you are not only giving up crucial space on the map, but you are wasting time on your stat lines and potentially could be helping your teammate cross to a crucial point on the map by laying down fire and hitting some shots in this fellow. So, guys, give it your own little pizzazz. Look up tips videos on YouTube if you want. I have a perfect one for my style that I'll link it below in the description. But just get comfortable laying in damage and just putting in damage at longer range than this little like 10-meter 1v1 you're used to. Alrighty, guys, the more advanced steps here. Now that you're comfortable, you've got some good sensitivity, you're shooting maybe 50 to 55, hopefully even 60%. You have to play faster. And this has nothing to do with aim. This just has to do with me wanting you to succeed in the ranked arena, guys. Push the pace. In my viewer VOD reviews, guys, I see too many players with really good aim, actually. Like, I'm talking gold level players that have to be shooting 55+% in their gameplay, and they are not pushing the enemy. They're still playing slow, they're still hiding, and they're playing very reactive. The best way to get kills and lay down a lot of damage, guys, is to push the pressure. You know, if you're comfortable laying in damage and just getting those kills in those 1v1 gunfights, don't be afraid to take the 1v1 gunfight. I'm not recommending it. Still try to play around your team. But guys, if you are confident in shooting, you have good aim, and you're putting a lot of work into your bandit, take these chows, because not only could it put up a better stat line for you, it can open up lanes for your teammates, it can put you in an advantage, and it is just wise to be taking gunfights, especially if you find yourself in a lobby where maybe the enemy's not shooting as good as you. Maybe the SBMM gave you a gift, but guys, you're putting in all this work in aim. Use it. Play a little bit faster. Get to those gunfights. Beat them to the spots, and don't be a reactive and predictable target just sitting in a corner waiting for the enemy to come to you. And guys, I gotta list this as the final tip here, and my tip to you is to practice, practice, practice. Shoot bots in the octagon. Put up as many bots as you can in a free-for-all. Just walk around the map, shoot them. Practice everything. Your movement around the map, your strafing, working with different weapons, everything of the sort, guys. I want you to just get all of the reps in you can so that when you get into a ranked game, it is literally just second nature for you. Even turn off that aim assist and do that, guys. I promise you, ranked is going to come so much easier. And chances are, if you're a lower rank trying to improve and you're able to master all this stuff, guys, you're going to be impressed with how quickly you're going to be dunking on kids in your lobbies. But guys, that pretty much covers everything I think that I wanted to hit upon with the secrets to improving your aim. Again, I'm not the most cracked player ever here, guys. I'm showing you on a bot that literally isn't moving, but these are literally the steps that I went through from struggling in gold lobbies. Now, keep in mind, I came from Call of Duty, so I was that kid that thought I was going to hop on the game and be cracked on a high sensitivity. these are the steps that I went through to improve my aim. Hopefully it helps you guys out so that you guys can get on a faster track than I was to not only improving your aim, but also hopefully climbing rank in the Halo Infinite ranked arena if you're still trying to do so. But alrighty, guys, that's everything. Please subscribe to the channel. A lot of Halo content. We're going to be on that BO6 grind pretty quick here, but Halo is not going anywhere, so hit that sub button, guys. Leave a like down below on the video, so hopefully more of my future teammates can find this and become cracked at the game and carry me to more dubs. And of course, guys, leave any comments. What aim tips do you have? What do you like to use to practice? I'll link below to my Octagon setup because a lot of people still aren't using Octagon. It is absolutely crucial in improving your aim. So, guys, leave a comment. And, of course, guys, channel memberships and super thanks. If you would like to support monetarily, it helps you out a lot as a content creator. But pretty please, do not feel like that. But alrighty, guys, this was a long one. Hopefully you found this one helpful. I think I kind of put tips all over the place to help out pretty much anybody at any point in their aim journey. But hopefully it helped you out, guys. But alrighty, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay tuned for the next video, guys.